These are all the cars that I've grown up with.
Woo! And these videos are going to be more about placing me in situations that I remember, distant memories. I was a baby in this car. Already I'm remembering smells, textures. I can't remember most of what I did yesterday. Morning. There's something quite bittersweet about coming to a building you've known since you were 14. And it's full of cars, and you can't drive because you've got brain tumours. So yeah, I've known this for 27 years. So switch the lights on. Okay. This is what's referred to as the spares bay in my dad's garage. All sorts of bits and bobs. You could probably understand why I feel it's quite strange at the moment. It's an emotion I'm learning to cope with. Cars have always been one of my favourite things. I grew up with all sorts of exciting motors. So the basic the rules are that if you have seizures, which I had a series of, you have to notify the DVLA, and they take your license away. Suspended for a year, and you can reapply if you can prove to them that you haven't had any since, or presumably that you're not a risk. I've had all of mine at night time. I try not to sleep when I'm driving anyway, so I can't see it being a great problem. Who knows though? I've got to reapply, and it'll be up to the DVLA to give me my license back or not. But when you're faced with this situation, let me turn around. These are all the cars that I've grown up with, so these are sort of my life through cars. So let's go and have a look. So if you don't mind, I'm going to talk about hopefully all the cars I've known through my life. It's fairly unique in that, as far as I'm aware, every car I've ever known in my life, family car, and every car I've ever owned is here. I'm going to start off with the first car that I ever knew, and we hope it's the car, we think it's the car that I was brought home from hospital in 1981. If you don't mind, I'm going to pop the camera down because I need both hands to take the covers off. This Triumph 1300 behind me. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm just going to pause you there, or actually, maybe I can clip you onto something. There we go. So here we go. Cute little thing. It's looking so sorry for itself. So I suppose, where is it? Is it that one? Yeah. I suppose I've probably picked the roughest of the cars in this row, as far as condition is concerned, to start off this what could be a series of videos. I'm sorry about that. If the car has been through a lot and it's sat in various damp garages in Greater Manchester, Norfolk, etc., time hasn't been kind. Metal doesn't like water. but it is still here with us. Look, it's got a dent here, dent in the wing there, the headlights are coming off, but as far as we know, this is the first car in this motley collection that my parents kept. They decided to keep it. Before that, they used to, like everyone else, they used to sell their cars and buy something new. Presumably, this was the first time they were in a position to say, we have a bit of space, we've got a driveway that can have 2 cars, that one's broken. We don't have to fix it yet, let's not sell it. So this went into storage at my grandparents' house over here in Norfolk. Yeah, we were in Manchester at the time. Since then, as you can see, it's only got worse. No, the collection's only grown in size. There's all sorts. Let's have a look at this one though first. Okay, I'm going in. Now. Oh, dearie me. This is sad, isn't it? Poor little thing. But I should probably say, climbing in, I should probably let you know that oh, look at that. Now that's on my jeans. It's not Marmite. Anyway, I should probably say that none of the cars that are currently in this garage are any worse than the day that they came in here. And the one thing that my parents have strived to do is, if they can't restore them and they can't fix them because of time and money at any one time, that they at least preserve them and conserve them, and that they don't get any worse. And I think that's important, isn't it? So people will say, oh, look at all these old cars rotting away. They're not. They're as good as the day they came in, and they can only get better. That's a different thing to just leaving cars in a field to rot, as far as I'm concerned. So, May the 27th, 1981. Stockport, Stepping Hill Hospital. And my parents were living, in Greater Manchester, or Cheshire, as they insisted on calling it. And my mum had been driven to Stepping Hill Hospital to be induced. And what happened? Well, the moon turned a fire red, so rumours have it, and I was born. 10 to 10. It was a Wednesday, 10 to 10 at night. I was a little bit late, which isn't like me. You ask most people that I know, and I tend to just turn up early to everything because I get anxious. I can't be late. And I think my mum and dad bought this from, or didn't buy it from, but they found it with my grandfather, my mum's dad, Noel, who's no longer with us, sadly. But he was a mechanic. He was a great mechanic, a proper greasy-handed mechanic, trained in the Second World War, like a lot of people were. They went to war and they came back with a trade. He worked his entire life as a mechanic, including various places, Volkswagen dealerships and what have you. But he always liked to triumph. And to be honest, although it looks a bit rough. It's well built. You know, this is a 19. Let me just look at the bit of paper over here. Commission number, engine number, paint code. It's got a lot of facts on a bit of paper here. Just tell me the date. 1969? I'm having to... One second. There's a bit of paper with everything about this car written on it. Well, as much as you can fit on a bit of A4. Let's have a look. What does that say? La 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 la. This car was... It was first registered on the 15th of April. Okay. 15th of April, 1969. Imagine that. Imagine the music. 15th of April, 1969. Zeppelin, Hendrix, The Doors, Edgar Broughton. If you know me, I could go on for a long, long time. Taste. Think of all those bands that were set to play at the Isle of Wight the following year. You know, Steve Marriott was just about to get it on with Humble Pie. So by the time I was born, this car was 12 years old already. So it wasn't a particular sort of like a special classic or anything. It was just a well-made car that kept running. And most people in those days, if you could fix something, you just did it. You weren't obsessed with this vanity and this constant need, this striving for a new car. You know, oh, digital display here, some mood lighting. Oh, I can't possibly drive something unless my feet are not constantly bathed in purple. Fuck off. Anyway, probably not the best way to make friends on YouTube. Sorry if you have feet that are bathed in purple. I'm very happy for you. Brilliant. But this Triumph 1300 was from an era, coming towards the end of an era, sadly, where standard Triumph made cars properly. I'm going to be doing some B-roll of this car and just look past the condition of the car at the moment and just look at the quality of how it was put together. This isn't one of the British Leyland cars where people were running around trying to scrimp and save and avoid extra details that might actually make a car nice. This is a lovely, lovely little car. And my mum, I think the 1300 is probably her favourite car. And this was my mum's. Is my mum's. So, I suppose 1981, try not to fiddle with things while I talk. I was brought home in this car, and I think I'm going to come back and do a video about every one of these cars that have featured in my life. So if it's a car that my dad bought and I wasn't driven around in, or he had it when I was in my 30s and I'd moved out, I didn't really sit in a car, it has no real memories for me, I'm not going to talk about it. Bleh. Might pass it by. But the ones that I remember going to the tip in as a child, or Sainsbury's in Stockport, or the football, any of those, football grounds, because we went to a lot of away days when I was a kid. We were season ticket holders for, wait for it, Norwich City, the mighty yellow and green Canaries. And we lived in Manchester, or Leicester, depending on the period of time. And we went to a hell of a lot of games, and probably more away games at the time than home games. All of those football grounds, those great, many of them lost grounds. An away day at the City Ground, Nottingham Forest, the first day we heard the Tractor song. I'm going to talk about that car. It's actually there. It's a Triumph 2.5 PI. automatic, Mark 1. It's a lovely car. If you wanna learn about that one, I'll do it later on. But you've got to come back and you need to click and subscribe. Okay? I need subscribers. A lot of you are watching, none of you are subscribing. I guess I should talk about why I struggle to come to terms, though, that I'm not going to drive these cars. A, because they don't work at the moment. But there are some cars here that do. And I'm talking collectively, these cars. There's a V12 XJS. There's two of my favourite cars, the 2.5 Mark 1 PI that's sat next to me at the moment. And there's a 300 SEL. I think it's 6970, 3.5 litre V8. They are cars that I always had this dream of owning, of restoring, getting back on the road, driving my kids around in. I love driving. When you're faced with a situation where not only are you're told that you're going to die sooner than you'd expected, and that some of those things that you enjoy the most are going to be taken away from you. And the other things are going to gradually fade. So an ability to play the guitar. I'm already struggling with this hand. This one seems to be okay. This is what everyone expects to be the clever hand. Oh, this is the busy hand, and therefore, as long as this hand works. But if you think about it, this hand picks every one of those strings. It plucks. It gives the rhythm. It gives the texture, the tone. I can't remember most of what I did yesterday. I forgot my own sister's birthday last month. And to make it even worse, it's on the same day as my wife's birthday. I think that's probably a good place to finish that one. So while I'm talking to you, which by the way is poor resolution, it's an iPhone 6 on selfie cam, it's not very good. But while I'm talking to you on that one, I'm just going to show you. So you see this little sort of clamp on. I don't really know what it is. Is it a Snoopy dog? I know my sister had maybe a koala or a bear or something, but and it had this very primitive little clamp together. That's why I don't want to touch it, because it's probably going to crumble. That's obviously a little mascot that my mum would have put on there. There's something. Can you even pick it up? Can you see that? It says Tricentral, and it's the Volkswagen. Was it the spares division of VW, or was it the dealership? Not sure. All I know is that that's because my granddad helped my mum buy this car. I'm fairly certain helped my mum and dad buy this car, go and see it or something, or it came into the dealership, and he was working there at the time. So if you were a customer in the late 70s, early 80s at VW, you might remember Noel Baker. Okay, so from behind the driver's seat, you get a lovely view. Look at the dials. They're beautifully analog. It's got that lovely little instrument cluster in the middle. Did the clock work? No, because the 1300 didn't have a clock. It didn't come with a clock. You want a clock? You're going to pay some more money for that clock. Even then, being a Smiths unit, it probably won't work. You've got the basics, you know, proper little glass rear view mirror. What's in my rear view? Oh, you've got your trusty seat belts. So, is that a 3-point seatbelt? No, I don't think it is. It's just a single crossover. See, it's so simple. You didn't have to have rear seatbelts though, still, in the 80s. And even when they were introduced, I don't think we ever had a car until I was 15, 13. No, I don't know. And that was a Daimler that's out there that had rear seatbelts. Don't need them. We just spent our time sliding around. But you see these bright orange straps? Well, inside Mum and Dad's house in the loft is a Britax car seat. Nice. Oh, look. So it didn't come fitted from the factory with a rear heater for the windscreen. But you could add one on as an aftermarket, and they've just passed the cables up the rear parcel shelf, and you just stick on, I guess that little panel was to fit all manner of cars, from a Mini up to a Rover. We've got a classic RAC sticker. Check out the ashtrays. I mean, you couldn't have a car in 1969 that didn't have obligatory ashtrays. Ooh. But I tell you what, they would. Oh, look, is that a little ledge to put your cigarette? Or just. Oh. You can see my knob. If I just rub it off. Is that better? Oh, everything just. It's like this car needs to be dipped in oil. Oh, so I think this would be your aftermarket rear screen heater. So I don't know what the other one is. Presumably there's another fitting here somewhere that needed 12 volt, or it's a dummy button. Those were the days. Right, I'm going to go outside and give you some general views of this car. So the story that I know, I've been told by my dad, was that he was coming down the hill on a Sunday in Levenshume in Manchester, off to buy some supplies in one of the few shops that were ever open on a Sunday back in those days. And he had to bang the brakes on and went into the back of someone, which had this bit of damage in there. So the headlights, you can see the bumpers taken a knock. It was still drivable because these things were pretty solid. But yeah, I think at the time, and that meant that the car needed to be taken off the road. You can even see when it was last taxed, 31st of August 1984. And the car was stored at my grandparents' house. I suppose there's very little point in pretending that I know all about the Triumph 1300. Front-wheel drive, of course, and I believe the development prototyping code name was Ajax, after the 2000 of 1963, of which we have a fine example here, well, of the later 2.5 PI, of course, but we do also have a white a white 2000 here, of which the literature is referring. So after the 2000 of 1963, the Triumph engineering director was keen to ensure that there was a successor for the relatively lowly Herald. Oh, I bet he was. He was also keen to replace the old-fashioned chassis design and to follow Isagonis into front-wheel drive. Of course, Isagonis had started working on some of those cars you may be aware of, the Morris Minor and the Mini. Has anyone heard the Mini? Anyone? Project Ajax just wouldn't stay cheap enough. They do get better. I think the next one Mum and Dad bought was actually that 2000 Estate, the red one, in the background. So that might be the one that we do next. Who knows? Maybe we'll skip ahead to the Mercedes. There. The Mercedes. That's a stunning car. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put my little backpack on and shut up for now. Because, to be honest, I'm doubting I'm going to get any nice video stuff out of this anyway. That's sad, isn't it? Ooh, should I fit in like this? I'm really short. I know what I can do. Who'd have thought? I can look back when I can't remember anymore and wonder who the hell that is on YouTube with his weird backpack and his stupid coat. Hello, my friend. So we meet again. It's a haggle prop here. Fit the bag, pretty easy. Yeah. Okay. Tally ho. Toodle pip.